Hi, everybody, and welcome to Life According to Nikki. Today's episode, we are going to be deep diving into the new movie, Robert Pattinson, Zendaya, called The Drama. Guys, I've actually been telling people ever since I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, have you heard about The Drama with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson? And everyone's like, no, what's been happening? And I'm like, no, the movie. They don't have drama. No, the movie that they're in together called The Drama. So, if you are unaware, that's what we're going to be discussing today. I get together with my gal Courtney, who also watched this movie, and for anyone that wants all of the spoilers, no worries, we got you. If you don't want all the spoilers, honestly, just listen to the first 5 minutes and then pick a different episode because we really do just dissect this entire movie. That's what today's episode is us talking about all of the themes and why this is such a thought-provoking film. It was extremely well made. Both Courtney and I really enjoyed it in the sense that it was a powerful film and it was not enjoyable to watch as a viewer because of the content and just how uncomfortable you are. So it's kind of odd that we say oh my gosh, it was so good and I really liked it, because it's not in the same way that I like chocolate cake or I really liked Project Hail Mary. When I say I liked Project Hail Mary, well, I actually loved Project Hail Mary. It's because I laughed, I cried, I would watch it again and again and again. It was so good. I'll tell everyone about it. That is not The Drama. I liked it for exactly what it was intending to do, which was to really make me think and make me uncomfortable. And so I liked that it accomplished that. I liked that it was able to bring out certain emotions in me that I normally don't tap into. But I didn't enjoy the experience necessarily of being massively uncomfortable for almost 2 hours and basically biting my nails in fetal position, in distress, heart palpitations. I didn't like those sensations, but I think it's cool that a movie was able to do that. You with me? You feel me? It's going to make more sense when we actually dissect it if you have heard nothing about it, or if you've watched it yourself, which if you have, you've probably been dying to discuss it with someone, because this is not a movie that you can just walk away from the theater and be I feel indifferent about that. No. This is a conversation starter. This is something you need to immediately speak to others about. And so if you fall into that boat, or if you're I have no idea what you're talking about, just tell me everything. If you are in either of those boats, girl, get your paddle out. Get ready to row down the aisle of The Drama. Honestly, wow. Can we just take a moment that I just came up with that, and this movie is about a wedding and a wedding aisle? Oh my gosh, I love it when a pun just comes to me, even unintentionally. Yeah, get ready. We're gonna go down the aisles of The Drama. Are we kidding? Oh my gosh, I love that. All right, everyone, we have Courtney with us.
Hi.
Because Courtney and I both watched The Drama, and here is first your spoiler-free version. It's going to be quick, and then I will tell you when we are about to get into all of the nitty-gritty details. But basically, the plot in the trailer is you have Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. They are about to get married. It is the week of their wedding. They're at a little dinner situation with their best friends. And the best friend says, "What's the worst thing that you've ever done?" And you see them laughing. You see them oh, hee hee ha ha, that's crazy. And then whatever Zendaya shares, we don't know what she shares in the trailer, but we know that whatever she shares shocks everyone at the table, all 3 other people. And then you have Robert Pattinson being are you serious? And then Zendaya looking, you know, scared and very like, yeah, you know, yes, I am serious, you know? And then you have the fallout, which is the drama, if you will, that occurs after this revelation is given of whatever answer she gives to the question, what's the worst thing that you've ever done? And it's just a lot of, like, snippets of screaming and crying and blood and, like, confusion. The trailer did a fantastic job, in my opinion. We have not seen a trailer that good in years, because every trailer nowadays just gives away the plot in, like, a 3-minute version. It's so stupid, but this one did not. This one was everything a trailer should be, because by the time I got finished watching it, I was like, what does she say? What does she reveal? What is this about? I don't know. I know nothing. You go into it blind, and it is kind of magical. And that is the whole plot. The whole entire plot, 75% of the movie, is the events that occur after the revelation of... am I saying the right word? Revelation? Is that a good... Okay, yeah. I just always think, like, biblical or, like, anything, anytime I use that word, yeah. The truth bomb that Zendaya sends off ricochets, and we see the damage that it causes over the week up to her wedding. That is the core of this film. All right. What did you think before you went and saw it? We'll stick on spoiler free for a second more.
Yes. Well, I only saw the trailer twice maybe, but I thought that it was Robert Pattinson's
reveal.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I thought I remembered incorrectly. I thought Zendaya was going to be shocked by his. So then in the movie, when he shared his, actually, before they shared the story, I was, like, sussing him out, thinking, oh, what is he, you know? What is going to be wrong with him? Like, ooh, not liking him. Like, something's wrong. She doesn't know. And then, obviously, I was like, oh, wait. Got that confused. So it caught me off even more guard.
You were not ready for that bomb.
I was like, oh, wow.
It was a delayed blow.
Wow. My friend texted me to go see it, like, an hour before we went to see it. So I wasn't even planning on seeing it based on the trailers.
Oh, really?
So then I was just like, oh. But I'd seen a lot of marketing for it.
There's tons of marketing for this movie, because if there's one thing Zendaya does well, it is PR. That woman knows how to promote a movie, okay? If Zendaya is in anything nowadays, people are going to the theaters purely to see her. Exhibit A is Challengers, one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen. But the PR for it was crazy good. And it tricked me, hoodwinked, along with tons of others, into thinking that it was somehow going to be amazing because it had Zendaya in it. Turns out, no.
She's just amazing.
She is amazing, but Zendaya does not a good movie make. Okay? Zendaya she on her own, good. But just because Zendaya is in a movie doesn't make the movie good. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
But with this particular film, the drama, it was a good film. So in this case, it was the truth. But it is not for everyone.
No.
So if you don't want the spoilers, the shortened version is basically, you just get to discover what the worst thing Zendaya's character has ever done. And there's a lot of fallout to her confession, and it also really sparks a ton of conversation with anyone that you go to see this with, or if you watch it without someone, like, immediately afterwards, you need to talk to someone about this film the second it's over, because it just makes you debate so many things. There's so many talking points, and 75% of that film, you are deeply, deeply uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. There's a lot of emotions, and because the acting is so incredible.
Yes.
And it was written very well, but the acting, I was like, oh man, you are uncomfortable right along with them. Like, it's a lot of emotion.
I was shriveled up at one point. I was holding Manu. I went with my friend Manu, who's also been on the pod. Shout out. And we were holding hands, like clasping hands at one point. I was gasping. I was basically in like fetal position sitting up. Like I could not stop moving. I was so stressed. There was no point after that confession was made that my hands were like not on my face in some capacity, either covering my mouth, either like on my cheeks in like a oh no, like on my forehead. I was like, what's going on? Like I was distressed watching.
I had my snacks, so I was
were munching.
Right.
Yeah.
I was munching.
I watched it at 10 a.m. I was watching this at 10 in the morning.
Wow. Good morning.
Yeah, I love a morning movie. That is my favorite time. You want to go to a movie with me? Let's do it on a Thursday afternoon, 10 a.m. Actually, I guess it's not an afternoon. Thursday morning. Because no one's there. It's just like a couple of old people. Oh my gosh, it was so
I'm
good.
pretty sure I saw it the day it came out.
Really?
Yeah.
And then Courtney immediately...
Yeah, well, I was
messaged
just
me.
Yeah, because you were going to movie the next day, and
2 days later.
2 days later, you were like, "Oh, do you want to come with us?" So I knew that you hadn't seen it yet because I saw it the day it came out, and you were going to a different movie that week, right?
Project Hail Mary.
So when I saw you and I said, "How was your movie?" and then I told you I had seen the drama, I was like, "You need to watch it. I can't say anything before you watch it. Watch it so we can talk about it." Because my friend I went with. Afterward, I was like, that was just super thought-provoking.
Yes.
And she was like, oh, what were some of the thoughts that you had that were very provoking? And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much I can say, but it was late. We didn't talk about it. Oh. I don't know what thoughts she had, but...
Was she American or no?
No.
Okay, because I will say I watched this with a non-American. Manu definitely said, and I do agree, this is not a foreigner film. This is a film made for Americans.
Do you think so?
Yes, I just really don't think it hits in the same way nearly as that. There's so much context and like so much cultural nuance.
Maybe the emotions wouldn't be
impactful.
as heightened.
Yes.
But I think I think it's definitely something that...
I just don't think it hits it as hard. Like, nearly as... I just don't think it... I think it'd be kind of like a... What was that?
Do you think so?
Whereas, as an American, I was like, that was, like, deeply thought-provoking.
See, I disagree. I think that it's a universal human experience.
And with that, we're going to get into why we think that. So, spoilers! Here we go. All right. Let's give the entire plot summary. So...
Mass shootings.
Yeah. There we go. So, basically, let's start up at the beginning really quick, because this is going to lead into the questions that I genuinely want to discuss. So, in the beginning, we have their, like, little meet cute with Robert Pattinson going up to Zendaya in a cafe, and she has one of her earphones in, and the other one is not in her ear. He comes up to her, and he starts talking to her, and then he, like, lies about reading the book that she's read. He, like, Googled it.
See, and because I thought it was his secret, I was like, okay, so he's a liar. He's, like, going after her. He's
a creep.
Yeah.
He was a stalker.
I had a completely different perspective. I was already very suspicious of him. I didn't think it was a meet cute. I was like, what is he hiding?
I bet that really rocked your world.
It did. I was like, oh, I remembered wrong. Because when I was thinking that, his acting, he was it's just confirmation bias, possibly. But everything was confirming my bias.
Yes. No, he was deeply uncomfortable in the beginning, for sure. And I thought that too at first. I thought he was like a creepy stalker guy. So he looks up the book that she was reading. He goes up to her. He tries to speak with her. She like takes her earphone out, and it was just like this kind of awkward. And she goes, "Do you want to start over?" And this is important because this is going to circle back. I did like the full circle moment, and I like it when stories do that because I think it's really good storytelling, planting a seed at the beginning that you see come back like fully grown at the end. So then she says, like, do you want to start over? And she tells him, I'm deaf in this ear. The ear that he was, like, speaking into. And the reason, she wasn't just ignoring him. Like, she's deaf in that ear. So he's like, yeah, I want to start over. So he goes and he sits back down at his table. And then he then comes up to her. And he's like, I really like that book that you're reading. And that's kind of how they start. Then they go on their first date, and she asks him about the book. They start having a conversation, and then he does admit the truth. And I think that this is, like, point number one. Is it a problem that he lied? Like, I think that that's a theme throughout, is, like, this, like, at what point admitting the truth, or not admitting, omitting the truth, is that a lie? Because he actively lied when he met.
But I didn't think about it. I mean, and maybe it is a point to the fact that he told her so quickly. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe...
Well, I feel like it's when he was caught. When she was, like, asking about, like, to have a deep, in-depth discussion
on their
with
first
him.
date, though.
On their first date, yeah.
On the first date, and he goes,
yeah,
okay, I didn't read the book.
That's true.
I mean...
Yeah, you know what? Fair. I didn't hold it against him. But do you think...
But you're right. I didn't even think about that there was a lie from
the
day
get-go.
one, which was probably intentional. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I think they plant a lot of lies in this, which goes to the bigger theme of, like, how well do you know a person?
Yeah.
Because the next lie that we find out about later, that we'll get to, is she lies about her hearing loss. Of why she's deaf in one ear. We find out that she told him she was deaf in that ear from birth.
Yeah.
And we are going to find out in a moment that was a lie.
But even before that, they see the DJ for their wedding on the street.
That's right.
And they are like, okay, she is doing drugs.
Heroin, specifically.
Yes. So they're like, So at the dinner with their friends, the topic of discussion is, do we let this slide? And Zendaya is saying, yes. She's our DJ. She's all booked out. Maybe we caught her on her worst day. And that's what Zendaya says about it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, we can't do this. This isn't morally right. We can't support a DJ who is
doing heroin.
Doing hard drugs. Yeah. Right.
Which, I would love to know your opinion on that. If you had a DJ that you had hired, you had already paid, you already had booked, you saw them doing heroin on the street. Like, they weren't, like, because to Zendaya's point, it's like, it wasn't, like, on the street. Like, it was near a building. Like, like, she wasn't, like, some homeless person.
Yes.
But, like, I would love to know your opinion.
I would be afraid that they would be sober at the wedding and therefore unable to do their job. So I think I would ask them.
What would you ask them, like, if that was them, or would you just immediately fire them? Like, would you want to have a discussion?
No, I actually might just fire them.
Fire them.
I might say, hey, I don't think this is going to work. Yeah. I think only because I'd be afraid that they wouldn't be sober on
the day. Yeah.
Which is sober for drugs as well, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Doubted myself.
To us, so innocent. Never done drugs in our life.
I didn't even remember which drug it was. I'm like, it's a bad drug, guys. It might be crack cocaine, but I'm not sure. But we say crack cocaine, even though it's the same thing. Anyways.
Wait, and coke is the same as well?
Yeah.
Crack cocaine.
Crack, coke, and cocaine.
And cocaine.
Yeah.
All the same thing.
All the same thing. She's a sex educator, but we might need a drug educator in here.
Yeah. I don't know anything about drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. That's what I know. Okay, and I will say, it's not that I didn't know, it's that I had definitely forgotten. I know I learned this at some point, that you can smoke heroin. But I did forget that was a thing, because that's what they see the DJ doing. And I was like, how do you know that's heroin? It was like in tinfoil.
Yeah.
It was in tinfoil. But then I guess I just always associate heroin with needles. Like shooting up heroin.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm 5 and...
See, so it's not my fault I couldn't remember which drug.
Yeah.
Because who smokes heroin? Not me.
Poor people. Can't
DJs.
afford the needles. Yeah, DJs.
People who are afraid of needles. It's the only reason you'd smoke it. It's much better if you just straight to the veins.
That's what
Don't damage your lungs, guys.
Care about your health.
I'm very health conscious. That's why I would only ever inject. It's like an IV, which is good for you. Anyways.
Clean needles. Anyways. So that is the topic in the beginning. Oh, there's one more point I want to hit with this, like, starting over thing. This is kind of like a theme with them, which I like. I like this dynamic between the two of them, where when things get really serious or, like, kind of they're in a conversation that's not really being productive anymore, usually Zendaya's character, she kind of, like, interrupts it. You know, in the trailer, it has her, like, pantsing him when he's in the middle of, like, being frustrated and stuff. I actually really like that. Like, the way that she's able to see that tension has, like, built up.
Yeah.
And that they need to have something that kind of, like, comes into the conversation.
What do they call that in marriage counseling? Do you know what it's called? I read a book.
I don't know.
The Gottman Institute talks about it being...
I'll Google it.
Yeah, there's something.
Hold on, we'll pause. And we have it.
It is called a repair attempt. So she's really good at repair attempts.
Yes. And according to chat, a repair attempt is any statement or action intended to de-escalate tension and prevent the conversation from turning destructive. These are critical tools to hit the brakes. And I do think that that matters because what we learn about her character is we can see that she understands firsthand of what happens when you let someone, like, just ruminate and continue on, like, their destructive thought pattern, that she immediately, like, disrupts that. And she also allows for things to start over. I really like that about her, which is why it's frustrating when later they're trying almost to, like, make her out to be the villain. And I'm like, no, because she's the type of person, she has shown through her character that she is willing to let people have a second chance to start again. And she does that with the DJ, where she says, like, yeah, what if we just caught her on her worst day? You know,
if you only do heroin one time, it's probably okay.
Well, that's the argument that they're having at the table, like, truly. And she was like, well, we wouldn't have known this had we not walked by her. Like, would that have changed anything? If we didn't know this information, then we wouldn't look at her differently. So why does it matter that we did see it? You know, I think there's just, in her conversation about the DJ, that then comes to play with her own situation, which
100%.
is now. They're sitting at the table. They're doing a wine tasting. People are definitely drunk. Zendaya, definitely drunk. She says that. She says that, like, she drank too much. So they're sitting there. They're talking about the DJ, whether or not they should fire her, whether or not it's morally correct to keep her. And then you have Rachel, who is the best friend and, in my opinion, the true villain of the story. I don't know if you agree. I'll ask that in a second. That's a question I have for you. And her husband, who is the best man. So it's the best man and the maid of honor. They are married, and it's just them and Zendaya and Robert Pattinson doing this, like, wine tasting, finalizing the menu for the wedding. Well, Rachel's character says that when her and her husband, who I don't remember his name, were getting married, they told each other the worst thing that they'd ever done. And she then poses that question, what's the worst thing you've ever done? So, do you want to explain, or do you want me to keep going?
Well, yeah, I can. So they all share theirs. And, you know, yeah, it's the worst thing ever done. So, not good things. And then it comes to Zendaya.
Oh, wait. We have got to say what they shared.
Say what it is?
Because I think this really matters when it comes to what Rachel says, which is why I think she's the true villain.
Okay. So the husband, what he did was he was getting attacked by a dog while he was with a girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend, and used her as a shield. So he admits very much so he used the girlfriend at the time as a shield against this stray dog that they were getting attacked.
And she got bit, and...
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
The Rachel chick, she says that there was a boy in her neighborhood growing up who was a little slow, as she put it. And they were, you know, together playing in the woods. And the boy wanted to show her something, so they just were going in the woods, and they just kept going until they're pretty far in the woods, and they found an abandoned trailer, or RV. And she, on impulse, locks the boy in the bathroom, locked in the RV.
In a closet.
In a closet.
Yeah.
And he's there. And then she leaves.
Well, he starts freaking out. So she's like, he started screaming and stuff, and it, like, scared her. But instead of letting him out, she ran away.
Yeah.
Continue.
Well, then it got to the point that they actually called, like, a search party. Like, they were looking for this boy. And they ended up finding him. You know, but Zendaya was like, well, what if they hadn't found him? And obviously, she wouldn't have known what she would have done. She said, I would have told them, you know, but that's pretty crazy.
Well, and the way that she says it, she's, like, laughing about it. And honestly, I was horrified when she shared that. I thought that was terrible. How, like, nonchalant she was being about the fact that she absolutely traumatized this, like, special needs person.
Well, and that's what they said. Zendaya said he had special needs. Someone said he had special needs, and she's like, well, he was slow. I didn't say that he was, you know, had a disability. And so I just said he was slow. So she tried to,
like, justify
qualify it. Yeah.
But still, like, the fact that she didn't tell anybody. She ran home. She didn't tell anyone. That kid was locked in a closet. And then to the point that he was gone so long that his parents called the police, search party, like, all this stuff. Like, I can't imagine how traumatizing, obviously this is all fictional, but, like, if they really make it feel real. Like, this whole film, like, you're, like, really thinking about what kind of person are you that all this time later you're still laughing about that when this is a very serious thing that you're saying. That, like, that could have genuinely caused so much trauma for that person if he was as panicked as you were saying that he was like screaming to the point that it scared you. And I understand the impulse to, like, run away at first, but then to tell no one and pretend when you see the search party and stuff as if, like, you don't know where he is, all of this stuff. I'm like, what kind of person are you, Rachel, that you are reflecting on this with your adult brain that you have now and you think it's funny?
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like a mature adult that could see, like, I was a child and I did this, but I reflect back and, like, that is deeply wrong and I probably really hurt that person.
Yeah. But also, the question is, what is the worst thing you ever done? So she does realize that it was
a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. And then I don't like Robert Pattinson's character's response because he was like, oh, I don't know. But this might be because I thought he was about to drop the truth bomb, right?
You thought he was about to be a stalker.
So I thought, you know, him just, like, sharing something stupid. It wasn't stupid, though. They all said it was stupid. Okay, so he says, I cyberbullied a girl once. And they're like, oh, that's not even that bad. And he's like, she had a move. It was really bad. I'm like, that is bad.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That is actually really bad. But they were like, that's not even bad, which I thought was just the segue to then him sharing something worse. But no, that was it.
Yeah.
They all said, oh, that's not bad. I made fun of him, and they moved on to Zendaya. So I was a little confused by that. I was like, that is pretty bad.
Yeah, to the point that person moved.
And also, why are you all just, like, making fun of, like, I don't know. I feel like that part wasn't realistic. They would have maybe said, come on. If they really didn't think it was that bad, they might say something worse. But maybe it just shows he's just a good guy. I don't know. I've never cyberbullied someone.
Same.
In fact, I have thought since this movie, what is the worst thing I've ever done? And I think there's definitely things that I regret the most.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever done something that is, like, I can't think of anything that's, like, the worst. Only things that I have obviously regretted, you know?
Yeah. No, I
like, that's how I feel about it.
I'm with you. I am with you on that.
I don't think I've ever done anything.
It's because we never had drugs.
Man.
we were sheltered.
It's true.
And then it led us to not being, like,
horrible people.
Horrible. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Anyways,
okay.
Then it goes into Zendaya.
Yes.
Do you want to share Zendaya's?
You know what? You take it, girl.
All right.
Set the scene.
At first, she doesn't want to share, right? She's like, no. And they're like, oh, come on. We told you ours. Come on. And she goes, okay, the worst thing I've ever done is probably planning a mass shooting. And then it was silence. As you can imagine. Because they're just like, what?
Well, that's how the entire audience, you're like, I'm sorry. What now?
Yes.
Like, what direction did we just take?
A what? Yeah. Yes. And as an American,
yeah,
I was not expecting this.
Same.
Like, I was like, oh. Whoa.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
Whoa.
and maybe to foreigners, they think all Americans plan mass shootings because they think it's that bad. It was shocking, right? I was like, but then they're like, you're so confused. They're confused. So you're all experiencing the confusion together, right? Mm-hmm. And the acting's great.
Oh,
so
the acting's
you're
amazing.
at the table with them. You're like, and the cinematography was also like, you're sitting at the table with them.
Yes.
And Zendaya just, she says, well, I didn't do it, you know? And then they ask her a bunch of questions, and it turns out she had the weapon. She had planned what she was going to do, and it was going to be at school, and
she took the weapon to school.
She was going to do it. And then Rachel is like, you know, my cousin died is in a wheelchair because of a mass shooter, right? And then her husband's like, what cousin? Wasn't it like that? Or was it Robert Pattinson? Yeah. And Robert Pattinson was like, are you serious? Like, because I think he laughed at first.
Yeah. Well, everyone was like, they were like, you're joking.
Yeah.
And then she was like, no. That's actually why.
And maybe when Rachel said, you know that about my cousin, maybe she thought she was joking. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, everyone kept saying, like, are you serious? Are you serious? And then Zendaya was like, I didn't know that about your cousin.
Yeah.
Like, well, and then she says, well, I didn't do it. Mm. And then she reveals that I'm actually deaf in my ear.
Almost to, like, prove to them. Like no, actually,
yeah.
this happened. I was practicing, and that's why I'm deaf. Because they just wouldn't believe her.
Yeah.
So now she's almost, like, proving to them, like, yeah, I did it. I planned it.
Yeah. So she was shooting in the woods and blew out her eardrum. And she was like, yeah, and there was just, like, a lot of blood. And I mean, the more she's talking, the more, like, shocked and horrified you are. You're like, oh my gosh, like, this is terrible. But I'm going to be so honest. Because Rachel had just revealed, like, what she had done, and then Robert Pattinson revealed what he had done, and we're on to Zendaya, and she's revealing this, and the reaction of Zendaya revealing this information is very different than the others telling their stories. It immediately made me go to, like, an empathetic place of, like, whoa, that is really serious information that you just dropped. But I am curious, like, where you were mentally to be able to be in that type of place. If you were that serious and you were, like, clearly planning this, like, I want to know what was going on at that time in Zendaya's life, because there's so much context there that I feel like they were not being considerate of, because it's like, okay, clearly a child does not just come up with that.
15. Like, she does 15. Say 15, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, was she being bullied? Like, where were her parents? What was her history? How did she grow up? Like, for her to reveal that, I guess I was like, okay, that's horrible information, but honestly, I was still having a reaction to Rachel. Like, genuinely, because I was like, that is horrifying what you did. But whereas Zendaya was, like, clearly shameful and, like, so apologetic, and also, like, she did not want to talk about this. This is clearly, like, a difficult topic for her. This is bringing up a lot. This was a horrible, and she even said, she was like, it was like a really hard time in my life, and, like, you know, that it felt more authentic and real, that it's like, this was like a really, really horrible thing that happened to.
See, and I thought maybe she felt like it was a safe place because she thought that their things they shared were horrible as well.
Yeah.
And so she thought, okay, those are really bad, and they're kind of laughing about it, and so she felt a lot more safe to share. But my empathy was immediately placed with her fiance. Because to me, I'm like, that is a truth bomb to drop.
Yeah.
When you're
like 5 days before your wedding.
Like, so I felt worse for him. Like, my pain was just like, oh my gosh. Because this is absolutely something that she should have shared with him. Absolutely something she should have shared with him. And had it been a different situation and circumstance, and not at a ha-ha hee-hee drinking wine with your friends, it would have gone differently. Without a doubt, it would have gone differently. So she should not. I felt like that was just so wrong of her to just say that in that situation.
Yeah.
So I didn't have empathy for her in that moment. Obviously, right? Like, it's mental health when it comes to mass shootings. But I was like, man, poor Robert Pattinson, especially because I thought he was the creep this whole time. I thought he was going to say something disgusting and, horrible. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's Zendaya.
Yeah, it was from that moment on so uncomfortable.
Yeah, but they make you laugh.
Yes.
There's like the writing is so good, and it is dark humor.
Oh,
like
so dark.
You are laughing, but also uncomfortable and intense.
Yes. And you go it walks that line so well. So then they go home and and Zendaya like pukes everywhere. There was like 3 different puking scenes in this film. Like clearly
there was blood and vomit.
Too. Yeah, there was a lot of that. But I think again that adds to the realism of it. Of it's like, oh my gosh, this is like something that she's held in for so long. I completely agree that it should have been revealed prior, because I think it also reveals again a lot about her history of like her mental health, her journey through her mental health, the darkest place she's ever been, how she got there. I think that matters in the context of like why she is the way that she is now. We see that had a role to play in like what she values and what she cares about and how kind and empathetic she is as a person.
Which that's not something you talked about, but before this scene, like when they're showing the meet cute and their relationship, Robert is writing his vows, which we can't remember their names. What are their actual names in the film?
No, I
don't know.
No idea. Doesn't matter.
He is writing his vows, and he's with his friend who's also at the dinner, and he's going through his vows with his friend, and his friend is crying because the vows are just so beautiful. Yes. And it just, of course, it's the happy, feel good, oh, love, romance, this is their relationship. But that's something that he talks about, how kind she is and how empathetic she is.
How open-minded, how, just really touching on her qualities. And so we see how much he loves her, and that's going to come to play in a second, which we'll get to that. You'll take that part, because we talked about this, and you said that was, like, the most impactful scene for you.
Yeah.
So they go home. We get up the next day, and of course, like, Robert's like, we need to talk about this, and she's about to have a panic attack. She's like, I don't want to talk about it. Can we just forget it ever happened? And he's like, no, like, I don't even know who you are, which, so fair. So fair. Like, and I think Robert Pattinson was doing a lot of what I was feeling, where it's like, I need you to explain. Like, I need to understand.
The scene where he's talking to his friend in the morning, that's her imagining that they did that, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so she imagines that he's then gone to this friend and been like, she's a psychopath, I need to get out. And he's like, leave for London, because of course he's British, right?
Yeah.
Leave for London, like, just pack, don't even go home, like, yeah, okay.
That's like her intrusive thought of
yeah,
like, he's
that's
gonna
what
leave
I
me.
thought. That is what I thought, but they don't have too many intrusive thoughts like that throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So then after the fact, I was like, that was a thought, right?
I interpreted it as a thought.
That's what I thought as well.
Where she's clearly terrified. This has been obviously this huge secret that she's held, and now she's...
And she probably would have never told him.
Yeah.
Had this whole, what's the worst thing you ever done conversation.
And had she not been drunk. Like, I think that played a part as well.
Definitely a part in inhibiting her,
but I think
letting her guard down.
I think you're true about the everyone sharing thing.
Yeah. But also, I don't think I think she used I was drunk as like...
An excuse. Okay, yeah.
But
enough.
I don't know. I've never been drunk either, so I don't know how
Can't
how much wine does it take to,
really loosen the lips.
She's probably been drunk before and never said anything.
So true. So then we get to know a little bit more about Zendaya. She opens up a little bit about how she, had moved many times because her dad was in the military, and it does these kind of like flashbacks to her as this teenager, and she's getting bullied a bit, didn't have any friends. But most importantly, at least to me, when she's at home, she's walking around with her dad's rifle. Where are her parents? Like, there is no adult present in any of her flashbacks. And I think that matters because, like, there's no adults. She has no friends. She's very isolated. And then she has all of these posters on her walls of, like, these rappers that talk about violence. And she watches these videos that promote violence. Like, everything that her little world is, like, surrounded with promotes this type of thinking. And she doesn't have any positive reinforcement coming in. And at one point you see on the fridge there's, like, money that was left. And it says, like, we'll see you tonight, like, love you. So clearly she does not have a parent at home. No one's watching her. She just kind of has free reign. And so she's, like, walking around with this rifle thinking it looks cool and it looks dope. And I think that really speaks to Americans in general of, like, what have we done where this is, like, cool? Where this is, like, a behavior and a lifestyle and a, like, I'm such a baddie, that we have made violence cool. I think that is such a problem, but it's so understandable. I think when you see it play out for her, where it's like, yeah, I could see where a teenager could be like, you know what, F everyone, like, you know, no one cares. I'm just gonna, like, burn the world to the ground, you know, that teenage angst. But, like, she has nowhere to channel that energy, and she also has nobody that is, like, looking out for her, and she has no friends. She has no connection.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree that that's definitely why it got to that point. But I also just think the fact that it got to that point is so extreme that actually does say something about her.
That too.
Like, that actually, like, I think, yeah, I mean, one of the biggest questions in the film is, like, are we defined by our past, right? And are we defined by the worst things that we do? Or by our worst days? Like, does that define us? At what point in time is that not a part of us anymore? But I think that the fact that it got to that point, it actually does speak to her brain.
That it was, like, able to go there?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the way that it works, the neural pathways that she has, just, you know, I do think that it actually does say something about her and not something, you know, maybe it doesn't have to define her. I think she could have, you know, a happy life and be successful, and this doesn't define, that action doesn't define her, but I think the fact that it got to that point does actually say something about her. So I think that's something that, yes, she can't ever lose from her, I don't know, brain chemistry.
That she was, like, able to go there and, like, think of hurting other people.
The point that it was, like, zero actual empathy, like, that is psychopath behavior. Like, it actually is, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the actual, like, mental health and the anger and the isolation and the loneliness and all of those things, like, it's very understandable that it got to a point, but that point, I think there is actually a point where it's like, this says something about her actual brain chemistry. I mean, I'm no expert, but I think.
Do you think anybody with those circumstances, like, so you're saying that, like, if you had 10 people with the exact same circumstances as her that we, like, saw in the film, that not everyone would go to what she was doing?
Absolutely not.
Even with, like, all of the...
100%.
Okay.
I think that there are, you know, I think that there are people out there who play violent video games growing up as kids and, you know, have abusive parents and all these things working against them that would never think of, you know, maybe think as, like, an intrusive thought, whatever, but plan and
like, be ready
going
to
carry it. Yes. Like, no, I think that actually takes a very specific person. So I think it's more her than just her situation.
See, I don't know if I part of me agrees with you, and then part of me is like, I don't know.
See, but I had so many students in my schools. It's very, very common for there to be no adult present in their life, for them to be completely isolated, for them to go home and just be online. That's the norm. And it's horrible. And the violence is horrible, you know? And in a lot of areas, gun violence is actually so normal.
Right.
It's become normal. But a mass shooting is also different than just gun violence.
That's a good point.
A mass shooting, that is also a different level of, I'm going to end this person.
But yeah.
Or even gangs. Gangs are still different than mass shootings. You know, I think mass shooting is its own level of psychopath, you know? Like, I actually think so. So I think that's why it was so shocking to Robert, exactly. Is of just like, whoa.
Yeah, that she's capable of this. Or like,
yes,
of these thoughts, of this type of behavior.
Because that's not something that you can ever rid yourself of. And even the shame that she experiences because of this.
Yep.
You know, I don't know how much he knew about her mental health before or her upbringing before, but probably not a lot.
Well, clearly, yeah. It does not feel like he knew anything about this from how big of a truth bomb this was.
Yeah.
So, these are such good points. I would love to. I need to talk to a forensic psychologist.
Yeah.
You know, that works with criminals and that'd be so interesting.
Because he says later in the film, he says something about, because of the number of mass shootings that there are, think of the number of people who have planned one or thought about it and never carried it out, which is a scary, scary thought. But I think that's also a good point.
I think so too.
I do think that there are a lot more people who are capable of this, who get to that point.
Yeah.
But I do think that to get to that point, there has to be something in their brain that is capable of it. No, humans, I don't know. I don't think that it's natural to want to hurt another human, right? Obviously, we've got battle of the fittest, and the whole history
man
is self-preservation and you know,
destruction,
exactly.
Violence.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not naive in saying that, but I think that
I think our souls really don't propel us towards violence.
At least women.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
That's so and maybe that's,
I mean, I'm a woman and I could never hurt someone.
Which I think that's an interesting point as well, where I have all this empathy and all this sympathy for Zendaya, but I'm like, would I feel the same if it was switched? If it was Robert Pattinson that revealed the information, I think I would feel completely different.
Because then you would think, oh, well, she's not safe.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Where it's whoa, he's capable of that. Whereas, for her, I'm like, okay, but she didn't do it. Even if we had just switched it to Robert Pattinson, I'm like, but he could.
Yeah.
Whereas, for her, I guess I associated where I'm like, no. At this point in life, she would not ever do it. She could not. She's not capable of it. Whereas I guess I'm like, he could always turn back to that. I think it would be different.
That's even something that in the film, when she's at this age of 15 and planning this school shooting, she's at school and someone says something about a shooting and how it's always a man, and then she corrects. I'm like, well,
there's been 4.
She knows all this about shootings because she's done her research.
Yeah.
She's like, it's not always a man. Anyways.
Yeah, it really goes to show how deep she was into it. She was really gonna do this. And then the question comes, why didn't she?
Yeah.
And so how it goes is there was a shooting that occurred at a mall nearby or something nearby, and one of her classmates died, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so they kind of had the fallout of that, and she then sees how everyone's talking about the shooter, and they're talking about them as who could do that? What a psychopath. What a loser. Who could, this is terrible.
You think that's why she didn't do it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think she didn't do it because there was a different shooting. So it wouldn't have had the same effect.
Oh, see, I think she did it because she was like, oh, this isn't going to make me as cool as I thought it would.
Oh, see, and I thought she didn't do it because there was already one.
So it'd make her less cool.
So, yeah. So it wouldn't have the same effect because there was already a shooting, so it steals her thunder, but also it's oh, that just happened. So she just doesn't. I feel like she didn't change her mind. Are you saying that she changed her mind because she felt sad? About her classmate dying?
Not because, just because I think she felt like shame from what her classmates were saying about the shooter. Really? But who knows?
I feel like she was mad that they were saying that. Oh. Like, because she'd been bullied.
Yeah.
And now they're all saying this about her, not knowing that it is about her, right? Now they're all saying, oh, well, that's horrible. So I thought she was just upset that they were saying that.
Maybe. I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
Open for interpretation.
There we go. Who knows?
But she doesn't do it, okay? And Robert Pattinson does call her out on that, and she's like, you just didn't do it because there was another one? Like, there was
And everyone who has this conversation asks that. That's their first question, everyone. Well, why didn't she do it, or why didn't they do it when it was just a hypothetical situation? Yeah. That's everyone's first question, which is also interesting, because that wouldn't be my first question. Well, maybe it would be, I guess.
Well, yeah, see, my first question was...
Why?
How did you get there? And then my second question was, why didn't you? That was what I was thinking, like the order of my thoughts.
I would probably say, why didn't you do it first?
Really?
That's probably, I'd be like, you had it planned? You had the weapon? What happened? Yeah. That's what I would say. What happened?
What changed?
Yeah, why didn't you do it?
Interesting.
Yeah,
what does that say about us? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Who knows?
I'm basic. I'm just like everyone in the film, I guess.
Well, no, I don't know. I don't know what that says about me, that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I was interested in why she didn't do it. But anyways, okay, so she doesn't do it, and that's why. And then the last part of the story in her, like, teenage years is there's this guy at school that comes up to her and invites her to be a part of this group. So she goes to this meeting, and he's, like, getting together this activist group against gun violence.
Because of the shooting.
Because of the shooting and because of the classmate that died. So she's in this, like, group meeting with all these, her peers, her other 15-year-old peers, and one of the other kids turned to her and they say she should be the spokesperson because they needed someone to, like, lead the group. Because the guy, I guess, that invited everyone didn't want to, or he needed a second in charge, or whatever. So someone else volunteers her, and she says, why me? And they say, I don't know, I just think you'd, like, be really good at talking. Like, you're really smart. And they compliment her. And you see her in that moment, like, so happy, like, she smiles. I don't know, to me, I was like, this is her moment where everything's gonna change, because she finally is going to have friends and have, like, this point of connection, and someone, like, saw her. Someone saw, like, something good in her, because she's been in, like, darkness for so long and so alone. And then she turns into this, like, public activist against...
She gets rid of the rifle. The rifle,
yeah. She throws it in a lake. And she becomes this activist against gun violence. And Robert Pattinson asks her, like, well, did you feel like a fraud? And she said, no, it felt like waking up from a bad dream. And that's why I was like, I don't know why we're making her out to be a villain when I really genuinely believed her. Where it was like she was in the darkest place that I think you could be as a person. This horrible place with no support. And then she got one glimmer of light and then clung onto it and changed her whole life. And I really do think for some people it can happen that quick. Where you go from, like, horrible, terrible...
No good, very bad.
Yeah, truly. Like, you are a bad person. A bad person. To... You have some sort of light to cling on to, and then you get community, and you get people, and you have a cause that you care about that is towards the goodness of others and, like, humanity. And I think that can completely shed, like, any darkness and any weight that you were holding. And I think that that's what it did for her, and it turned her into the person that she is. So, I don't know if she really... I did not think she was the villain. I thought that Rachel was cruel in the whole freaking beginning of the movie, too. Like, just the comments that she would make, the way that she was. I was like, she is not a nice person. Like, Rachel is a mean girl. And then Rachel reveals her cruelty as a teen, or, as a kid. And, maybe I'm extra sensitive, because when she said slow, I was like, that child with special needs. I have a nephew with special needs, and I'm like, that would be terrorizing, like, to lock someone in a closet like that that could literally alter someone's life especially if they were special needs, you know? And then she didn't feel apologetic.
Or kill them.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her for the running away that scared her, but everything else she did afterwards and, didn't do, and then I just don't feel like she grew as a person. I still think Rachel is just as cruel as a person that did not do what it could have, which is, completely change her forever and be like, I feel horrible, but I never want to be like this again. And she could have taken a different route, and instead she stayed on the path of being a cruel person. I just think she's cruel. I think she's way more cruel than Zendaya, and, a worse person, I think, personally.
But we also didn't see their friendship beforehand.
That's true.
You know? I mean, yeah, the whole response to it was horrible. She was horrible. But I think her shock was valid.
True.
I think her shock was valid. And that same thing you're saying about your nephew and the emotional reaction you had to that, that's the reaction she had with her cousin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that her reaction was totally elicited.
Ooh, good word.
Both
Both of us looking at each other good vocab.
Thank you. But I think that, yes, I think that was totally valid. But then I think the follow-up to that would have been, hey, I just need some space to process this.
Yeah.
That, I think, would have been totally fine. But instead, she very much mean girls it, and it's horrible. So I do think that she's horrible. I agree that she's horrible. And I think that Zendaya definitely was in the wrong to mention at this party.
Oh, absolutely.
Should have told him about it a long time ago, probably with a therapist in the room. Mm-hmm. She's not had any therapy.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that, Robert asks her. Have you had any therapy? No, she's not had any therapy. So is she in the place in her life to have a serious relationship when she didn't even mention? No, she's definitely in the wrong about that, you know? She needed to probably work through a lot of the shame that she had and the unprocessed grief that she had. I also think it's interesting that you say that, this switching point for her. I think the switching point for her wasn't necessarily all of a sudden she became, anti-gun, and she's a big activist for this. I think the switching point was for her, this is the first time that people were being kind to her. Yes. And I think it does show, I agree with you. I think it shows that that's all it takes. It does just take someone being kind. And if we can just be kind instead of bully, which, funny that Robert was a bully and that was the worst thing he ever did. And they were like, that's not that bad. When that's the thing that she was struggling with that led her to then, so it's all very connected, isn't it? And then there's so many talking points. But I just think, I think that if anyone suffered in the movie, it was him. I think
would agree
it was the most painful thing to watch him. And I think the only reason that he went through with the wedding, because then, are we at that point?
Yes.
Oh, well, okay, his suffering, right? So the scene I thought was the most powerful and painful was he goes back to his computer after this, revelation, we're calling it, and he starts to edit his vows. And at first she just deletes the...
She's the kindest person I've ever met.
Yes, she's got empathy. And then he deletes the kind. And then he just deletes the vows. And that was so powerful to me because that is just what went on in his brain. The things that he loved about her, all of a sudden he questioned and thought, nope, and that's the definition of trauma, right? Just his world and the view of himself and his fiance and the world was just turned upside down. And all of a sudden he just feels like he doesn't even know her. He just deletes the vows because he feels like she's some stranger. Of course he feels like she's a stranger. I think the only reason he made it to Saturday, to the wedding, was because when he's in this great distress, he almost doesn't do it, which is also very much part of the plot, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't do it, but almost has an affair with a coworker. And it's just because he's so emotional, right? So we've watched him go through all of this. So as we're sitting there and we're watching, we can empathize with him. And then we see him almost have this affair. And yes, affairs are not right. And we're upset about it. And we're like, that's horrible. It's not okay.
He kisses his coworker, just to give you a little context.
Yes.
He kisses his coworker, and then she, pulls up her skirt, and then he's like unzipping his pants, and then he's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. Good context.
Yep.
But then he doesn't do it, right? But we can empathize with him. But is that an affair, cheating? It's all about what's morally worse than others. And if you don't do something, and at what point can you be empathetic and understanding of what got them there, right? So it's the same themes throughout this whole thing. But I think the only reason he made it to Saturday is he went, oh, now he's made a mistake and he's hiding it and he's not saying anything. And he just goes through with the wedding. I think that's the only reason that he made it that far into the wedding.
Yeah. You think if he wouldn't have kissed his coworker, he wouldn't have gone through with it? See, this is why it's, like, such a good film.
Yeah.
And it's also why it's so uncomfortable, because when he starts kissing his coworker, you're like, oh my gosh, like, you're getting married tomorrow. This guy's about to have, like, a freaking mental breakdown. And then that was so unexpected to me. Like, this guy's clearly breaking down, having a difficult time, like, he's about to go crazy. And then for him to just, like, all of a sudden, like, kiss his coworker and they're, like, making out, I was like, oh my God, we've just, like, crossed a threshold here. And now we're cheating. Like, and I think you're right. Like, I think you have all this context and it is the same question. At what point is it, does context stop mattering? Like,
should he have told her the night before their wedding?
Right?
Like probably, but also, should he? Don't do things you're gonna regret, guys, because you gotta tell. Actually, that's something that Mikhail said motivated him throughout his life. Mikhail is my husband, by the way. He said that I don't know if an adult told him this or if he said that he would say this to a teenager. Don't do anything that you're going to be embarrassed to tell your future wife that you've done.
Ooh.
And, like, that's very much in the church culture, very focused on marriage.
Sure.
And also abstinence only, right?
Right.
But that was like a motivation.
That's hilarious. I actually didn't even take it there.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, oh yeah, like
don't plan a mass shooting.
I was thinking like stealing, being a bad person. Didn't even think about that. I was like, oh.
So, anyways, and probably in other cultures, they don't, reveal everything that they've ever done with anyone. But it's probably also a normal conversation of, what have you done and how far, But anyways, that's.
But I do like that concept though of like, don't do something that would, like, you would be embarrassed to admit to someone else, like, one day. That this could affect whether or not they want to be with you if you've, like, made terrible...
No regrets, guys.
Yeah.
Both don't have shame, but also...
Think things through.
Let's not cheat on people or kill people.
Yeah. I think that's a solid,
that's what I actually got out of the film. The moral of the film.
So in the end, they go through with the wedding. Okay, it's very dramatic on the day. It's very high suspense. And then at one point, the coworker's boyfriend comes up to Robert Pattinson, headbutts him in the face because, he finds out that they had kissed, and Zendaya finds out as well. It's just like, it's so explosive. There's blood all over Robert Pattinson. Like, it's just a mess. And then you see Zendaya walking off in a puffer jacket. She's outside. Like, you don't know what's going on. And in the very beginning of the film...
And they fire the DJ.
Oh, yes, they do fire the DJ. That is true.
But they still
But there was, like, an argument... Yeah. Oh, my gosh. They do fire the DJ. In the very, very beginning of the film, there was this conversation that was had where it's like, we should go to this diner after our wedding. You know how people go to the Oscars, or when they're done with the Oscars, they go to these restaurants in their fancy clothes and, like, they just go to this cheap diner. And that was Zendaya's idea, and Robert was like, I don't know, this is kind of dumb. Well, now we're at the end. And Robert, bloodied, everything, goes into this diner, orders a sandwich, sits down at a booth. Then Zendaya walks in her puffer jacket, orders something, sits down at the booth. And when she sits down at the booth, they look at each other, and then she says something like, do you live around here? Mm. What's your name? And I think that really was a beautiful full circle moment where at the very beginning of the film, she lets him, like, he has this huge blunder and, like, trying to, like, meet her and, like, all this stuff, and then she says, do you want to start over? Like, would you like that? And then they do, and then they are able to, like, move forward, and from this, you know, blunder to actually fall in love. And in that moment, her just allowing them both to, like, start over in that moment, I think was a beautiful thing.
I do love that she did that. And I do think that relationships, they can definitely work through all of these things and come out stronger because of it. 100%. Forgiveness is real. People can change. We can give people a second chance. 100%. I hadn't thought of her as being so kind. Like, your thoughts have helped with that. I was just feeling for Robert the whole time because how painful. And they need therapy. She needs a lot of therapy, and they shouldn't get married until she's been properly put through therapy. But they were married, though, so.
Yeah.
Annulment.
Yeah, maybe a little break.
Just some therapy.
Yeah. I agree. I think if you're really if you've changed and you have evolved and you are a different person, you're willing to admit where you went wrong, you know, the things you never want to do again, the places you never want to be mentally again. I think it is your responsibility to work through that before entering into a partnership with someone else, especially if you're entering into that without telling them and giving them the opportunity to have an out. And if they don't want to go through that journey with you, I think that is fair, you know, because it's your own fear of rejection that's taking away their agency and their ability to choose you as well.
And I think we can see in Robert's response to it, 100% he would have been there for her.
Yes.
Had it been a different circumstance.
Yep.
Because he stands up for her to Rachel, and he is really working through it, asking a lot of the right questions, trying to understand where she was coming from and being very understanding. It was just the fact that the wedding was so close that
it's like this super short, like 4-day timeline.
Yeah.
To process, you know, years worth of trauma.
Yeah. And it also showed in the film how once he knew that about her, he started seeing things differently about her. He saw her differently. And things that, you know, he might have just thought, oh yeah, she gets upset and yells at the person on the street. Okay. That's very different when you have a different understanding of a person. So I felt for him. I was like, wow. What a movie. It was intense.
You feel for everyone. You really, and you feel
and
that film.
Gun control.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, I think that would solve a lot of these problems.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
Yeah.
Could be pretty simple.
I've written a paper and done a bunch of research for gun control laws in Australia and how they came about, and I feel strongly about it as well.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I would agree that we could do with. I'm fine. Lock them all up. We don't need them. Like, absolutely not.
At least the fully automated machine guns.
Absolutely.
We don't need assault rifles.
How can we not agree on this? Like,
Yeah.
Come on, people.
Yeah.
Especially when you watch a film like this and you're like, I need kid. Like, well, I mean,
or when you live outside of America. Yeah.
Which is why I think, going back to, I think that this movie is made for an American audience. I think it's because this is such a prevalent conversation and it's so debated.
But
and
everyone outside of America thinks, like, they're afraid to... The same how people are afraid to come to Australia because they think they're going to get bit by a snake and a spider the second that they step foot on Australian soil.
Yes, and get eaten by a shark on land, yes.
Yes. It is the exact equivalent to what people think happens when they step foot in America.
Yeah.
And it's with good reason that they feel that way because there are so many shootings in America.
Yeah.
what they don't realize is that America is also huge, and there are so many people in America, so it is a little bit different. Yeah. But they just hear the shootings, they see the statistics, and we have become, as Americans, so desensitized to it. It has just become the norm, right? And there's something to be said about it. Guns are a big part of American culture.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even people who are very, pro-gun control can own guns. Guns, right?
Yeah.
Like,
my family does, yeah.
Yeah, see, so it is, yes, I understand it's different context, but it has gotten wildly out of hand, and we're not talking about it enough.
I agree.
And we're not having the right kinds of conversations. And America is in no place right now to make anything productive happen because everyone is so extreme and polarized.
Amen.
Yeah.
And on that depressing note, would you recommend the drama? What was your personal rating?
Okay, well, here's the thing. I am hesitant to recommend it to people because I really, really enjoyed it, but I fear that if somebody watched it, they would then go, what's wrong with Courtney? Yeah. Because I actually really enjoyed the experience. It's not a film that I probably will never watch it again, actually, because I don't need to. I've sat through the uncomfortableness, and it's in my brain. So I don't know if I don't know if I'd recommend it.
I would give it, on my personal scale, a 9 out of 10. Because of the cinematography, the acting, the way it made me feel, it did exactly what it came to do, which was make me uncomfortable and, like, cause a conversation.
100%.
It came to be controversial. It came to make you stare in the face your own thoughts, your own beliefs. What do you think about all of these themes? And what do you feel is okay? And when do you think someone is able to, like, move on from their past? And when, like, what context matters? What do you weigh when you look at a person? Is someone defined by the worst thing they've ever done? Like, all of these questions came from it. The second I was finished with it, I, like, couldn't breathe. I was like, I need to speak to, like, everyone I know about this. And to me, that is art. Yeah. That is amazing that someone was able to make that multiple people all came together with their talents to make this film that is thought-provoking and uncomfortable, and I respect that so much. But for the public, no, like 3 out of 10.
It's not a movie night cozy.
No. You have to go into this intentionally. And I also agree, when you very first said that I should watch it, you said it should come with a trigger warning.
100%.
I agree.
100%. I mean, I would give it 10 out of 10. I don't have any notes for it. I have no complaints about it. But I'm scared to say that because then you're going to go watch it and be like, what? Courtney enjoys this? I think it was great. I didn't think about vampires one time. That's how good Robert Pattinson did. I didn't even think about Edward Cullen or Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
Is his name Edward Cullen?
Yes.
I didn't even think about vampires. Great acting. I didn't even think about threesomes and
challengers.
Tennis. Yeah. Great acting. They did a great job.
They transformed.
I think, everything you said. I have no notes. Honestly, no complaints about it. I think that they did an excellent job.
For me to be a 10 out of 10, I feel like I've got to watch it again. I think I will watch this again purely because I love to watch a movie with other people and, like, watch this.
I love that about you.
This is something I would love to experience with others who want to watch it and who...
Only because you want to see them go, what?
Yes. I want to see them react in the way that I did, you know?
I don't want to see that. I'm just kidding. I'm not a rewatcher or a rereader. Like, I will give 5 stars to a book.
Yeah, and then...
if I feel like it was just, like, wow, that is something that really gets you thinking.
Yeah.
And gets you thinking differently and seeing things different. Like, I love that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't reread or rewatch.
I love it. That is my love language. Is watching things I love with people I love.
Yeah.
And having, like, experiencing it through them.
And her recommendations, guys, on Instagram, it's no joke. She's always got good recs. I have yet to experience something that Nikki said was going to be worth my time and then go,
Oh my gosh. You are so
You know what the people like. You know what I like as well.
Yeah. That is my thing, is until I get to know someone, I'm kind of just like shooting at targets, being like, I don't know. But
you have easy ones that you could recommend to
exactly.
anyone.
Yeah. Where I'm like, okay, this is gonna nail with everyone. Jury Duty, like easy.
100%.
You know, like there's just some certain ones while I get my footing, you know, as I get to know someone. But truly, if you want recommendations from me, like I need to know everything you hate. That's a really easy way for me to help narrow things down. And then like your favorite things you've ever seen. And then we're golden. Like, then I'm going to have you test out a few things. Give me, like, 2 or 3 tries, you know, as I find my footing. But once we got it, like, once it's locked in and I, like, know what you like as a person, nothing brings me more joy than recommending something that I'm like, I know you will love this.
Is not only a content creator, she is an expert content curator. 100%.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Oh, guys. And shout out to Courtney, because the thing about Courtney is we watch terrible movies together.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. She's great at recommending things to me, but if she's not seen something, for some reason, and now she says, well, if I'm going to watch it and it's going to be terrible, I'm going to watch it with Courtney.
It's like our thing.
We just watch terrible movies together.
And I think you are the only person, really, that sees now how much I watch and how many bad things I'm watching. Like, because you've watched them with me now. You've seen so many crap movies with me where, like, we try something out and I'm like, that is just garbage. And, you know, it's garbage for both of us. I think that also, in a way, goes to show, like, when I do recommend something, like, that's not coming off of nothing. True. Like, that's coming off the backs of, like, horrible movies.
And I am picky about different things than you're picky about. We've also discovered this.
That is true.
When we don't like something, we usually have different things we don't like about it.
True.
And so when we find something that we both like, that has passed the thorough test of whatever I'm picky about. It just has to be believable. I think that's my number one thing. If the dialogue isn't believable, I'm like, no, that's not how that conversation would have gone. Mm-hmm. If it's not believable, I'm out. The acting, if it's not believable, I'm out. Where you care about the story, you care about all sorts of things.
Yeah, the
ending. The ending. Me, I'm like, it can have a bad ending as long as it's believable.
No.
I do not care.
No. Don't you dare botch my ending. Absolutely not. No, I need actors to be good. I need the music. I need the angles of the, like, camera. I need the style, the plot itself, the writing. It can be unbelievable in a sense if it's good. You know, where, yours is...
No, it has to be like, believable.
Rooted in,
Because I will watch and go, no, they wouldn't have said that. That's not what their reaction would have been. Or I'll be like, okay, bad acting.
Okay, yeah.
I just want it to be believable, and everything else, it can just... It
doesn't matter. Yeah, no. I need everything to work together. I need you all on your best behavior. Like, I need everyone working at the best of their ability to entertain me.
Because we've watched plenty of movies where you've gone, that was horrible, and I go,
it was okay. Yeah.
Like, I didn't hate it, but...
Prime example, Love Actually.
Oh, actually, I hated that.
No, wait, what was the one? It was the incest plot one.
Yeah, that's also... that makes it sound not believable, but I didn't hate it. Jennifer Aniston, I like her.
I don't know. What was that one called?
We never remember. Every time we talk about it, we just say the incest movie.
I talked about it on the pod. Okay, remember when I said, hey, let's just sit down for 20 minutes?
And then what did I say? I was like, we don't keep anything brief. It's like, we'll just do it really quick. I'm like, us?
Yeah, I mean, I said fair enough.
And she doesn't have me on the podcast very often because it takes her a very long time to edit these.
Oh, this, 0 edits.
Oh my gosh, unedited.
Unedited.
Could say anything right now.
Yeah, it's a raw cut. Because I want all of this in. This is for the people that love the deep dives. Yeah. Because I do have those fans. I'm thinking of one in particular. Okay, this is a shout out to Nikki Utley.
Also a Nikki.
I know, right? I love
the pole dancing Nikki.
No, that's a different one. Oh, I have actually quite a few Nikkis.
I have a friend Nikki. My next door neighbor growing up was Nikki.
Aww,
and I called her Nitty because I couldn't pronounce my T's or my K's. I was Courtney and she was Nitty. Courtney and Nitty.
That's gonna be the title of the episode. Courtney and Nitty.
Courtney and Nitty.
Yeah, just kidding. But yeah, Nikki, she messaged me like a few weeks. Well, she messages me and stuff about the pod and like everything like that. She's a friend of mine. She's amazing. She's been on the pod, by the way.
Nice.
And anyway, she says that these are her favorite types. Is when I just like go into a movie, explain everything. So Nikki, this one's for you. Amazing. You and all the other people that like this.
Shout out, Nikki.
Shout out my girl. She's so great.
And this is an open invitation for any fans listening. If you want to be on the pod, reach out to Nikki.
Yeah, honestly. For sure. Like, absolutely. 100%.
I mean, I'm just a fan, so look how far I've made it, guys. You too. You can be a fan and speak to her IRL.
I'm just here to make friends. Like, I'm here to, like, hang out with the girls that give me. I'm here to find my tribe. I found, like, a small
10,000 of your tribe.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we can get way more, though.
100%.
Yeah. There's more of you out there. I know it. And you want to know what? The only way that we're going to find them is if you rate and review.
Like, subscribe. And she has a Patreon.
I do. For the Virgin Sex Educator, guys.
We can all be besties.
We can all be besties. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. Love you all. Would you like to sign us out?
Thanks for listening to our thoughts on life, because this has been Life According to Nikki. Not the best sound to make at the end of this episode.
My bad.